The Dead Sea Scrolls, sometimes referred to as the Qumran Caves Scrolls, are a series of ancient Jewish and Hebrew religious manuscripts. These texts include manuscripts from Judean Desert Sites and date back as far as the 8th century, making them the second oldest known surviving manuscripts. In fact, the most recent of these ancient texts was written in only the 11th century, reinforcing their historical, cultural, and religious value. They have been written in a number of languages, primarily Hebrew, but also Aramaic dialect variations, Greek, Latin, and Arabic. In the Dead Sea area, around 900 fragments of the scrolls have been uncovered. Most contain only short pieces of text, having been damaged over time, through both natural means and human impact. However, a small handful have remained well preserved, surrounding these scrolls in mystery and prestige. So today, here at Unexplained Mysteries, we will be taking a look at 3 recent advancements in the research surrounding the famous, important Dead Sea Scrolls. Mysterious second writer of Dead Sea Scroll was uncovered by AI. From one document, an artificial intelligence detected subtle orthographical differences in the handwriting, suggesting there were 2 scribes contributing to this particular manuscript, not the one we had once thought. A statistical analysis indicated that there were minor differences between the writing styles within one Dead Sea Scroll manuscript. Whilst these tiny inconsistencies were invisible to the naked eye, the AI research confirmed that the penmanship was that of 2 separate writers. Preliminary explanations for the similarity are simply that the 2 scribes could have trained or been taught in a similar manner, such as attending the same school. Principal investigator Mladen Popovic, who led this study, is a professor of the Hebrew Bible and ancient Judaism at the University of Groningen, based in the Netherlands. He describes this research as just the first step. He elaborates by explaining that being able to pinpoint individual scribes will open the door to study all the scribes behind the Dead Sea Scrolls and put us in a new and potentially better position to understand what kind of collection or collections of manuscripts we are dealing with here. He believes that the involvement of AI presents just the first breakthrough of dozens. Scribes of the manuscripts did not sign their names, and with more than 900 manuscripts found, the number of authors contributing has long remained an elusive figure. Popovic outlines the procedure of identifying scribes prior to the employment of AI. He claims that singling out a defining characteristic in the formation of each letter could be deemed a smoking gun, creating a specific handwriting profile that could be used in order to identify a particular writer. This was a highly flawed approach to dividing up a manuscript into its different writers, due to the subjective nature. There were no concrete answers, resulting in a high level of debate amongst scholars. These criticisms led to the data-backed approach seen today, with AI confirming handwriting differences throughout the Great Isaiah Scroll. The Great Isaiah Scroll has been incredibly well preserved. It dates back to 125 BC and measures 24 feet by 10 inches, complete with 54 columns of text written in Hebrew. This scroll contains some mysterious aspects, with a small break in the pages, though it had seemingly been sewn back together. The AI conducted a process called a neural network analysis. This found that within the 54 columns of text, there were 2 entirely unique groups that each section fell into. Further supporting this theory is that the switch between the 2 groups was approximately halfway through the manuscript, suggesting a clear-cut divide between scribes, where one took over from the other. Even when looking at fragments or just small parts of the individual letters, clear differences can be seen. Further testing the accuracy of their findings, researchers added additional noise to the data, though the same results appeared repeatedly. Following the initial tests, heat maps were used to create 2 average versions of different characters before and after the alleged shift. Here, according to Popovic, the results are statistically significant. Popovic implies there is plenty of practical information to be gained from this research, including what he describes to be the cultural evolution of the Hebrew Bible. The Dead Sea Scrolls include a guide to a hidden treasure. Between the hundreds of Dead Sea Scroll manuscripts, there is one that stands out above the rest, inviting more questions and theories: the Copper Scroll. The majority of the Dead Sea Scrolls have been written on parchment, papyrus, or animal skins, with their messages conveyed in ink. The Copper Scroll, however, is made out of copper and engraved to carry its message. Some have theorized the Copper Scroll was intended to stand the test of time, being legible and accessible for much longer than the manuscripts recorded on parchment. It is believed by some that across the Copper Scroll is a treasure map, guiding the way to a store of gold and silver riches. It depicts 64 hiding places throughout Israel, in which these treasures and riches of gold and silver are kept tucked away, safely hidden. The Copper Scroll is a fascinating discovery, as it features an unusual range of vocabulary and a whole host of strange spellings. Even with the manuscript leading the way, we have been unable to uncover any of the gold alluded to by the Copper Scroll. Some people suggest this is due to it being taken in the 1st century by Romans, whilst others believe that the treasure may never have been there at all. However exciting the prospect of hidden treasure may be, some people are skeptical about the authenticity of the scroll. Some claim that treasures of this scale must have been the gold and silver of the temple. This would mean that the Copper Scroll may not truly lead to the riches of the Essenes, who are generally believed to have owned the treasure, according to the Copper Scroll, as this group rejected the temple and the authority of priests, likely leaving them without riches of this grandeur to speak of. Others believe the location of the scroll, the Judean Desert, and the cliff face above the Dead Sea are keeping with expectations of the Essenes, but not other cultural groups, giving some evidence that the treasure may have belonged to them after all. Archaeologists are yet to find any treasures to speak of, and there is little concrete evidence to support who the treasure truly belongs to. The secret to miraculous preservation of a Dead Sea Scroll could be salt coating. The Dead Sea Scrolls are inarguably valuable artifacts, making their preservation and good condition following their discovery vital. Recent findings may have some more answers and more suggestions as to how some of these manuscripts are in such pristine condition, and why some appear to be worsening following our human intervention. One fragment of one of the most famous manuscripts appeared, upon inspection, to be covered in a strange combination of sulfate salts. Whilst some think this may be the secret to the good condition of some of the Dead Sea Scroll manuscripts, others have suggested that the sulfate coating could make the manuscripts more sensitive when exposed to subtle adjustments to their environment, such as humidity. One research paper in Science's Advances suggested an approach in which a greater emphasis is placed on understanding the construction and chemistry surrounding ancient techniques to craft parchment. They also highlight that this may prevent forgeries from being considered with sincerity. The current understanding of the sulfate salt coating is that the Essenes, aiming to protect the scrolls from destruction, hid them in a series of caves. From the caves, natural limestone and similar conditions aided their preservation, allowing natural preventative chemical reactions to take place at a slow rate. Admir Masick, one co-author of the research paper who works at MIT, has suggested that the Dead Sea Scrolls have begun to decline in their quality of preservation following the attempts to soften the scrolls in order to open them, as well as the shift in environment into museums. Masick highlights the necessity of the Dead Sea Scrolls. As he states, we are talking about ancient 2,000-year-old documents that cover a fantastic period where Christianity was born. That means they are extremely valuable from a historical perspective. The most well-preserved is the Temple Scroll. This outlines some biblical context, such as plans for a Jewish temple, though the focus of the Temple Scroll is often its construction. Why is it so well maintained? Parchment was usually made from animal skin, with the hair and fat removed, and then scraped clean and stretched to dry. The Temple Scroll, however, seems to be written on the reverse of the parchment, on the flesh side, and was possibly split into 2 layers whilst writing. Even more spectacularly, the Temple Scroll remains untouched by modern, man-made preservations, meaning there is no damage to the original scroll. Overall, there is a broad range of factors that may feed into the successful preservation of such artifacts, though the natural contributors appear to be the most significant. The Dead Sea Scrolls present a paramount research opportunity, from archaeology to religion to linguistics to history. These scrolls tell us about the past and give us a chance to learn about future preservation and technological advancements too. But what do you think of the Dead Sea Scroll discoveries? Be sure to let us know your thoughts in the comment section below and help us by growing this community while working to solve these unexplained mysteries. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.